chess lawsuit is ass. Or is it? It all started when 31-year-old Grandmaster Magnus Carlsen of Norway, the top-ranked chess player in the world, was dealt a rare tournament defeat by Hans Niemann, a 19-year-old American prodigy ranked 40th in the world, who some have dubbed the bad boy of chess due to his oddly combative demeanor in interviews.
Well, it's completely ridiculous that the laptop is just running out of power. Like, plug the laptop in.
Carlsen then shocked the chess world by accusing Niemann of repeatedly cheating in matches. These voices only grew louder after Chess.com, the world's largest online chess platform, concluded after a weeks-long investigation that Niemann had cheated in more than 100 online games, then banned him from the platform. This wild tale has all the makings of a drama fit for a future Netflix series, especially given the salacious internet rumors that Niemann cheated with the help of an adult entertainment device put in an adult entertainment location. This method of cheating, of course, was pioneered by the famous international grandmaster Benoit. Now, Niemann has vehemently denied the cheating allegations and responded to this controversy the way that almost guarantees that you end up on this channel, by filing a $100 million lawsuit accusing the critics of defamation and colluding to blacklist him from play and destroy his career. So let's take a dive into the Niemann cheating scandal. We'll break down the claims leveled against Niemann, his response, and whether the $100 million lawsuit has any chance of success, or whether he's going to need a silver bullet. Now, all of this drama began on September 4th when Niemann and Carlsen faced off at the Sinkfield Cup in St. Louis. Despite being the lowest ranked player in the tournament, Niemann pulled off a stunning upset against Carlsen in the third round, snapping the world champ's 53-match winning streak. In a post-match interview, Niemann was less than gracious.
I think he's just so demoralized because he's losing to such an idiot like me, you know? It's just, it must be embarrassing for the world champion to lose to me. I feel bad for him.
Niemann attributed his victory to a ridiculous miracle that he happened to study the rare chess opening Carlsen used the morning before the game, allowing Niemann to guess how Carlsen would start.
That's that that's that right there.
Carlsen's move the next day was an even more unusual variation, pulling out of the tournament for the first time in his career and only providing context with a veiled tweet. Grandmaster and chess streamer Hikaru Nakamura interpreted Carlsen's tweet as a veiled accusation that Niemann was a cheater, and then this was the reason for Carlsen's withdrawal after the loss to Niemann.
At the end of the day, there's nothing, nothing is proven, but there is a lot of suspicion. There is a lot of suspicion.
Niemann has a history of cheating online on Chess.com and was banned there twice, though Niemann has denied cheating since his last ban when he was 16 and has stated that he has never cheated in an in-person game or when prize money was involved.
I've never, ever in my life cheated in an over-the-board game, in an online tournament. They were an unrated games.
Following a game on September 19th in which Carlsen resigned after the first three moves in apparent protest, the next day Carlsen implicitly accused Niemann of cheating and declared he was unwilling to play against people that have cheated in the past. Carlsen tweeted that Niemann's over-the-board progress has been unusual, and throughout our game in the Sinkfield Cup, I had the impression that he wasn't tense or even fully concentrating on the game in critical positions, while outplaying me as black in a way I think only a handful of players can do. This game contributed to changing my perspective. On October 4th, Chess.com released a bombshell 72-page report concluding that Niemann has cheated much more than he has publicly admitted to, including in many prize events, at least 25 streamed games, and 100 plus rated games on Chess.com as recently as when he was 17 years old. These findings contradicted Niemann's public claims that he only cheated twice, that he never cheated in prize money events, and that he stopped cheating at the age of 16. In support of their findings, Chess.com used a variety of cheating detection tools, including a comparative analysis of the moves made versus the moves recommended by supercomputers, a player's past performance and known strength profile, the statistical significance of the results, and input from grandmaster analysis. Well, Chess.com concedes that there was no direct evidence that Niemann cheated in his win at the Sinkfield Cup. The report did highlight some suspicious elements. Specifically, the report addressed Niemann's apparent struggle to discuss the rationale of his own chess strategy after beating Carlsen in St. Louis, which top players at the time described as at odds with the level of preparation that Hans claimed was at play in the game and the level of analysis needed to defeat the world chess champion. But one might ask, how does a person even cheat at chess? Before this story broke, you might have been surprised to see the words chess and cheating in the same sentence, but in the words of the Washington Post, chess has long been a game rife with allegations of chicanery and skullduggery.
This chicanery?
As technology has advanced, so too have chess cheating methodologies. These days, people have been caught using chess engines, computer programs that analyze games to recommend the strongest possible moves. Chess engines are so advanced that they can beat even the best grandmasters every single time.
Mate in 143 moves.
No, poo! You win again!
And in a video entitled, "Is This Proof That Hans Niemann Cheated?", Nakamura reacted to a video from French streamer Yosha Iglesias discussing a third-party statistical analysis of 10 games where Niemann's chess play achieved a near 100% correlation to the perfect moves of a chess engine. According to the analysis, no other players, not even Carlsen, boast so many 100% games. And recently, players have been caught cheating using chess engines on their smartphones, like Georgian Grandmaster Geyus Nikolidze, who at 25 years old was caught cheating at the 2015 Dubai Open using a chess engine on the smartphone he hid in the bathroom stall. Nikolidze's Grandmaster title was revoked and he was banned from competition for 3 years. But what happens if you can't access your smartphone? Well, one particularly salacious rumor began to circulate on Reddit that Niemann could have cheated using a well-placed Wi-Fi connected vibrating adult entertainment device. Now, to be clear, there is absolutely zero evidence that this happened. It's just a Reddit rumor, though it is technically possible to cheat this way. But for more on this, let's go to one of YouTube's resident chess experts at GothamChess to explain more about these cheating allegations.
Hey everyone, I'm Levi Rosman, also known as GothamChess, and I've got the largest chess channel here on YouTube. Thanks so much, LegalEagle, for featuring me in this video. I'll try to answer all the questions as best as I can, even though I'm here in a hotel room, so I'm sorry if the setup isn't as good as yours. There have been players in the past, like Borislav Ivanov, who was found with a device in his shoe. That device was somehow registering good moves and vibrating to indicate to him something about the chessboard. Maybe it was Morse code, maybe it was something else. There was another case, I believe it was the French Olympic team in 2010. There was a whole elaborate system. Somebody sitting at home was watching the game live broadcasted. That person was then relaying something to a middleman who was then standing in a certain corner of the room itself to relay information to the person that was playing at the board.
Let's think about a very simple representation. I would need 2 squares. The first to designate which piece, and the second where the piece is moving. That's probably the easiest. What's the smallest amount of information you need to help you?
Basically like a buzz in a critical position. That would be good.
And what would the buzz say?
It would be something like 1 buzz means the position is great, and 2 buzzes means the position is completely equal, or there's nothing special in the position.
Now, Niemann vehemently denies the cheating allegations, even colorfully offering to strip naked before games to prove he's not hiding anything.
They could literally tell me the most ridiculous thing. If they want me to strip fully naked, I'll do it. I don't care.
And while so far he's not played in the nude, he, along with the other players, was subject to a full body scan with a metal detector at the US Chess Championship in St. Louis. Which takes us to October 20th, when Niemann made his next move by filing a federal lawsuit against Magnus Carlsen, Carlsen's chess company Play Magnus, Nakamura, Chess.com, and Chess.com executive Danny Rensch. The complaint demands at least $100 million in damages from the defendants arising out of causes of action for slander, libel, unlawful group boycott under the Sherman Antitrust Act, tortious interference with Niemann's business, and civil conspiracy. The 44-page complaint is primarily a recounting of public statements made by Carlsen, Rensch, and Nakamura, though it notably does not address any salacious or unsubstantiated internet rumors. Niemann asserts that there is no truth to the allegations that he cheated at the Sinkfield Cup, claiming that, quote, unbiased top chess analysts have concluded that his victory resulted more from Carlsen's particularly poor play than Niemann's exceptional play. The complaint also calls Chess.com's cheating report a, quote, false and malicious hatchet job full of slanted analysis, and that the report's statement of Niemann's privately confessing to additional cheating offenses to Danny Rensch is false. The complaint is full of effusive praise for the, quote, American chess prodigy, Hans Niemann, and vitriolic insults for the other defendants. For example, the lawsuit claims that a corrupt and cowardly Carlsen chose to viciously and maliciously defame Niemann with false cheating allegations due to his, quote, inability to cope with defeat at the Sinkfield Cup after a man 12 years his junior, quote, dared to disrespect the king of chess. The complaint accuses Nakamura of joining in this defamatory conspiracy because he viewed Niemann as a, quote, threat to Nakamura's dominance on chess streaming platforms. The complaint also accuses Chess.com of colluding with Carlsen because the company plans to purchase Carlsen's Play Magnus app for nearly $83 million in a merger Niemann claims will monopolize the chess world, though this merger disclosure was announced in August before the cheating allegations. Niemann also alleges the defendants violated the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890, which outlaws certain monopolistic business practices by colluding to blacklist Niemann with false and defamatory cheating allegations that, quote, by design, destroyed Niemann's remarkable career in its prime and ruined his life. Niemann also alleges that, quote, defendants acted in concert to improperly refuse to deal with Niemann, including Chess.com banning Niemann from its platform and sponsored events, Carlsen refusing to play Niemann in any tournaments or events, and defendants acting collectively to cause organizers of professional chess tournaments to blacklist Niemann from participating in their events. So the $100 million question, can Niemann win this case? Well, among legal observers, the emerging consensus is that Niemann faces an uphill battle. So let's start with the prayer for relief. Niemann seeks $100 million in damages, and while that's certainly a jaw-dropping number, it has zero basis in reality. He certainly pulled that one out of his ass. Whenever someone files a lawsuit, they can put any number they want, and in a complaint like this that serves potentially to recover damages, but also serves to try and rehabilitate someone's reputation, it's there to grab headlines, which it certainly did. But in a case like this, any prayer for relief, whether it's $1 or $100 million, means absolutely nothing. But let's move on to the rest of this lawsuit and start with jurisdiction, because Niemann has to show why federal courts in St. Louis even have jurisdiction to decide this matter. And the fact that Niemann filed suit in Missouri raises all kinds of questions. To hear a case, a court has to have both personal jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction. Now, subject matter jurisdiction is a requirement that a court has the power to hear a specific kind of claim. And for the moment, it seems that the courts having federal jurisdiction might make sense because the complaint at the moment asserts a claim for a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act, which is a federal law, and there might be something called diversity jurisdiction given the residency of all of the defendants. But there's also the personal jurisdiction requirement that a court has power over the defendants based on usually what's called minimum contacts with that forum. And the most common way to get personal jurisdiction over a person or a business is to sue them where they live or do business, or where the tort occurred. But here it's entirely possible that some or all of the defendants could get the suit dismissed, at least without prejudice, meaning that the suit could be refiled, given their lack of connection to St. Louis. Now, Niemann lives in Connecticut, Nakamura lives in Florida, Carlsen and his company are from Norway, and Chess.com is a Nevada LLC, while Wrench lives in Utah. The only one with any links to Missouri is Carlsen, who allegedly made the defamatory remarks that first arose out of his defeat in the Sinkfield Cup in St. Louis. So why would Niemann sue in Missouri instead of his home in Connecticut? Well, some have speculated it's because of Connecticut's strong anti-SLAPP statute, which dismisses lawsuits that are brought simply to retaliate against defendants exercising of free speech, which would have required Niemann to show evidence for every single element of his claims against every single defendant to avoid dismissal. And in contrast, Missouri's anti-SLAPP law is basically non-existent, and it only applies to comments at public hearings, which certainly wouldn't stop Niemann's suit. So let's talk about Niemann's defamation claims. If you haven't seen our dozens of videos tackling the topic of defamation, defamation is a tort that creates civil liability for false statements that injure a third party's reputation. Niemann has sued the defendants for slander, which is verbal defamation, and libel, written defamation, but there's several barriers that could make these claims hard to win, even if the cheating allegations are proven to be untrue. For starters, defamation is only actionable if a defendant makes a false statement of verifiable fact, meaning the assertion must be capable of definitively being proven true or false. And opinions are by nature not defamatory if they merely express the speaker's commentary based on public information. And here, Carlsen accusing Niemann of cheating after losing at the Sinkfield Cup is probably not an assertion of fact, but an opinion based on disclosed fact. And as some have said, it may be a stupid opinion, it may be a wrong opinion, but it's an opinion, a conclusion reached based on the observed play, not a statement of fact. It can't be defamatory. And to prevail, Niemann would have to prove that Carlsen didn't actually think Niemann cheated when he made those claims, a very high, if not impossible, bar to clear. Similarly, Nakamura may be shielded from defamation claims to the extent that he's only giving his opinion and commentary on Niemann's alleged cheating based on public facts. And not to fear, the same goes for a legal commentary YouTube channel giving legal commentary on a chess cheating scandal. But the complaint does suggest that Chess.com's conclusion that Niemann cheated is based on undisclosed facts. And sometimes implying undisclosed facts or explicitly stating that there are undisclosed facts facts can lead to defamation. And the Chess.com report alleges that Niemann privately confessed to additional cheating offenses in a private August 2020 phone call with Chess.com's Danny Rench, which the complaint denies. However, the Chess.com report does include private communications between Niemann and Rench between August 2020 and January 2021 that shows the Zoom call took place, Niemann acknowledging being banned for cheating and calling said consequences completely fair. And that's certainly going to hurt Niemann's credibility unless he can show that those private messages were faked or taken out of context. Another potential barrier to recovery, Niemann's fame and notoriety means that he could be classified as a public figure subject to the heightened actual malice standard. To prove actual malice, which again has nothing to do with hating someone, one must prove that the statements were made with knowledge of being false or reckless disregard for their truth or falsity. The actual malice standard also applies to limited purpose public figures, which refers to one who voluntarily participates in a discussion about a particular controversy and has access to the media to get his or her views across. This is opposed to the normal standard, which is just negligence with respect to false statements. But Niemann's almost Trumpian praise of how famous and successful he is that's contained in the complaint only reinforces the idea that he should be treated as a public figure subject to the actual malice standard. But that's a double-edged sword, because this complaint is potentially to redress grievances in court and get damages, but it's also supposed to try to rehabilitate Niemann's own reputation and get eyeballs on it. So it goes both ways. But given this high standard of proof, Niemann might not have any luck against Chess.com in court. And as Bloomberg columnist Stephen L. Carter points out, lawsuits by individuals accused of cheating have mostly been unsuccessful, with courts often unwilling to second-guess a gaming organization's own findings of wrongdoing. As an example, Carter cites to a 2010 Indiana case where a golf teaching pro unsuccessfully sued a colleague for calling him a cheat for claiming a different classification than the one to which he was entitled. In that case, the Professional Golf Association agreed with the colleague's allegations following an investigation, and the court dismissed the defamation claim because the statements were true. As Carter notes, the court didn't do its own investigation, rather, the organization's own judgment was sufficient to shield the defendant from liability. And doubly so, it's hard to win an antitrust and intentional interference claim in the absence of prevailing on a defamation claim. And those remaining causes of action are also not particularly strong based on the allegations made in the complaint. For antitrust claims, in this context, it's likely that Niemann would have to plead enough facts to convince a jury that if true, the defendants entered into an actual agreement to blacklist Niemann. But Niemann and Chess.com are not competitors, and complaining that Chess.com and Carlsen won't voluntarily play with him doesn't necessarily establish an illegal agreement. And simply alleging that the defendants did similar things at the same time isn't enough to allege an agreement in restraint of trade. And additionally, tortious interference allows for a claim for damages when a defendant wrongfully interferes with an existing contractual or business relationship. The key there being wrongful interference with an existing contractual relationship. The complaint makes conclusory allegations that the defendants intentionally interfered with Niemann's relationship with a series of chess-related entities to coerce them to terminate their relationships with him and blacklist him for future trade. But these are tough claims to make because the complaint doesn't actually allege any conduct directed at these entities. And to prevail on a civil conspiracy cause of action, a plaintiff has to prove that two or more defendants, again, entered into an agreement to commit a wrong and did actually commit a tortious act in furtherance of that agreement that caused injury to a third party. And Niemann makes conclusory allegations that the defendants agreed to do bad stuff to hurt Niemann, but doesn't actually provide the factual basis suggesting an agreement to do that. And quoting Texas Judge John Chupp, 3 people all liking the same cat picture on the internet is not a conspiracy. But the thing about real conspiracies is that you rarely have evidence of that agreement at face value. So if this lawsuit does make it past the motion to dismiss stage into discovery, I'm sure the very first thing that Niemann will ask for are all communications related to agreements between all of these parties. And who knows, maybe those agreements exist. But to understand whether Niemann cheated or whether Carlsen is being a sore loser, it would really help to understand statistics and probability. And today's sponsor, Brilliant, is exactly the place to help. Brilliant is an online learning platform for STEM that replaces lecture videos with hands-on interactive lessons. Brilliant is for curious learners, both young and old, professional and inexperienced. And you can quickly really learn to ace your high school college math course or just learn stuff that you always wanted. And in fact, Brilliant's Data Science Foundations course starts with probability fundamentals and builds up to using data in predictions, experimentation, and neural networks. You'll learn and understand an introduction to probability, applied probability, statistics fundamentals, and eventually an introduction into neural networks. And then you can tell me if Niemann cheated. Because Brilliant lets you learn by doing rather than listening to hours of boring lectures. Learning through doing is scientifically proven to be the most effective way to master any new skill. And the courses have storytelling, interactive challenges, and problems to solve. You can sign up and start learning for free today by going to brilliant.org/LegalEagle or clicking on the link that's on screen right now or down in the description. The first 200 people to sign up will also get 20% off their annual subscription. So by clicking on the link that's on screen right now or in the description, you'll get 20% off your subscription to Brilliant. Plus, clicking on that link really helps out this channel. And after that, click on this box for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court.